Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Metroid Prime Remastered. So we have our fancy new black and red Phazon suit, so that means it's time to do a whole lot of cleanup because now we just have things to get before the final boss, really.
I love the idea, because, we all refer to it as cleanup, of Samus walking around the planet, but she's wearing, like, the stereotypical, like, maid headband over on top of the helmet, carrying a mop while she's finding these artifacts and shit.
Oh, I was just thinking, I thought different. I thought like the arm cannon turns into like a vacuum cleaner.
Oh, that would be cool too, where she puts like the hand cannon into the hand vacuum into the arm cannon.
Dude, Metroid and Luigi's Mansion crossover when?
That would be great. I just love the idea of like, you've got like 6'2" Samus standing next to 4'5" Luigi, and they're both hunting ghosts. Like that would be hilarious.
Are you coming with me, little guy?
Do you want to come through the door? I dare you. I double dare you.
So, remind me,
you
can get a lot of the artifacts along the way, but there's like a handful of them in older areas that you need specifically the Phazon suit to access, right?
The only one you need the Phazon suit was the Tunnel of Death one we did in the last part. The rest, you can get all of them, as long as you've got Plasma Beam and Power Bombs.
Yes.
Like, you don't even really need the X-ray visor.
Yeah. The problem is we still need to beat Omega Pirate to complete the game anyway. So.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just inefficient to backtrack as soon as you can grab something.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That's definitely like a routing thing that is kind of part of the fun of like mastering a Metroidvania. An example I like to think of is Banjo-Tooie, which is one of my favorite games and is basically a Metroidvania. And like trying to think, okay, what's the most efficient way to go about things? Because like, oh, when I get this power up, I can go back to Glitter Gulch Mine and get this. But do I need to? No, because later on when I'm in Jolly Roger Bay, I'll pop back out here anyway, so I might as well wait until then to grab it.
The funny thing, that's the Jinjo on top of the water tank.
Yeah, you have to jump in from the top in order to get that. The only annoying thing is that there's no way back up there, so you then have to...
No, you can get back up.
You can?
Yeah, there's a chain that dangles just above. You can latch onto that and climb back up.
Oh, well, I mean, like, if you stay there, grab the Jinjo, and then you can climb back up the chain, you're right. But if you, like, jump down to do cleanup in that level, I don't think
that's it.
I don't think that there's any way to naturally get back up on top of that water tank without... I mean, you probably could finagle your way up there because Clockwork Kazooie eggs are broken as fuck. And you can do... the game's loading zones are merely a suggestion with them at your disposal. But certainly
I use
as
that
playing...
exploit every time to get into Grunty Industries without needing the train.
It's like, it's so weird because that's one of my favorite puzzles in the game because it makes you think outside of the box. But in terms of like, if you want to save like 5 minutes of your time, you should do it that way. Oh man.
Yeah, and if you take the back door, you're already halfway through the level.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's even quicker.
Yeah, and if there's one level that needs to be sped up, it's Grunty Industries. Because I can't think of a more fitting that one level for any video game than that one. Where... And pretty much everybody I've heard who've played that game is just like, ugh, whenever you mention Grunty Industries, which...
And I'm like, ooh, Grunty Industries, I love that level.
I'm so conflicted on it because, yes, it is very annoying and tedious, but on the other, it's like also well-designed in a lot of ways too. So, I don't know. I have conflicted feelings on it, personally speaking.
Ryan, it looked like you, like, reflexively went for the grapple points and then remembered, oh yeah, I'm immune to Phazon now.
I noticed that too.
That's probably what I did, but...
It's a hard mindset to get out of. Like, when I'm playing other Metroid games and the gravity suit usually makes you immune to lava, I still kind of like reflexively try to avoid it because it's lava and lava is scary and deadly.
The funny thing is that room actually changes depending on what power-ups you have.
You know, one of my childhood memories was watching that volcano disaster movie with Tommy Lee Jones in it. and seeing the guy get stuck with his feet in the lava and slowly melting down.
You see, lava isn't nearly as interesting of a danger in real life as it is in video games, because it's not like touching the lava is what kills you. It's either, being in the general vicinity of the lava and burning to death, or breathing in the noxious fumes and burning to death
because it's
on the inside.
Yeah, because it's molten earth and metal. 'Cause it's,
Yeah. So it's like, oh, you don't even, you wouldn't even die in the cool, burning in lava Terminator way. You'd just, fall over and die before you even get within 60 feet of the lava.
I think what the guy did was that, there was too much lava between him and where he needed to jump for him to get out. So I think he held someone, jumped into the lava and threw them over, and took one for the team. But I distinctly remember liking that movie, but in my memory it's also cheesy as hell.
Those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. You can like a cheesy movie.
Yeah.
I remember in movies as a kid, quicksand being a lot more threatening than it would be in real life.
Yeah, quicksand, has the problem of, I think it depends a lot on the specific pile of quicksand that you're dealing with. Because, just due to the way that nature works, quicksand can form pretty much anywhere. It all depends on how deep the pool of quicksand is.
It would be really anticlimactic to end up in a 3-foot pool of quicksand, yeah.
It's just like, oh no, I ruined my jeans.
Matt, I grew up with this PSA that was designed for rural areas in England, and let me tell you, holy shit, they did not spare the horses on how fucking nasty those deaths were. And this was intended for kids.
By spare the horses, did they, fuck with literal horses?
No. It's a saying.
Okay.
It's like, don't spare the details, if you will.
Okay.
I'll put it to you like this. It was like, okay, here's what you shouldn't be fucking with on a farm. Tractors, you see a kid get crushed by one on one of the wheels. Another one, drowned in a slurry pit.
Huh.
I wish I was making that up.
Huh.
Another one, they're in a shed and they're pretending to drink stuff from a can or a plastic container. Yeah, what was in that was a banned pesticide now, and just the fumes from it alone can kill you. And all you see after them, pretending to do a tea party with the stuff, you just see a light come on in the house in the dead of night, and the kid screaming bloody murder, and the next scene, funeral.
Huh.
From what I've seen research on what that chemical does to the human body, it is not pretty.
I just, it is funny to think about.
And I grew up with that.
But when you're dealing with kids that young, there's a reason why they tell you to lock up everything that, your laundry detergent or your, your prescriptions or anything like that. Because if it looks interesting in any way, shape, or form, kids under the age of 5 will attempt to eat it.
Yes. Ugh.
Anyway, this is a BrainScratch PSA to not don't drink pesticide. Thank you and good night.
Pesticides. Don't fuck about with heavy industry equipment.
Well, if you said it was about stuff on the farm, I guess the horse saying could be true. And don't fuck with horses either. If you put your hand in a horse's mouth, I'm pretty sure it can bite your finger off.
One of the Sherlock Holmes stories literally ends. It's about someone who stole a horse and murdered someone, and it turns out the guy who got murdered got killed by the horse while attempting to steal it.
To be fair, a horse's kick can kill you.
Yeah,
that is exactly what happened.
The PSI that you get in the hooves them alone, to run that fast, there needs to be an insane amount of energy in the horse's legs. So yeah, that.
Yeah,
it's energy and materials, because you have to remember most of a horse's hooves is solid bone. They just put a horseshoe on it to stop it, overgrowing.
Yeah, but the horseshoe is also metal.
It's like iron or steel. So you've basically just taken, bone, that's pretty solid. Now let's put a steel toe cap on it.
So this is actually another thing that's really funny. I was watching a video the other day about how you know how in cartoons people will often take like a frying pan and bonk someone on the head and then they'll fall unconscious. Turns out that like if you take a standard like steel frying pan and you actually like whack someone on the head, if you apply even just a bit too much force, that's actually probably lethal. Because it is like basically just taking a metal a metal thing to the head.
I mean, Simpsons did a whole gag about that with Maggie bonking Homer in the head with a giant mallet because she saw Itchy and Scratchy do it.
It's generally this artifact people complain about backtracking wise because we have to go back through the research facility.
Yeah.
Why can't we get this earlier?
You need the plasma
Because you
beam.
need the plasma beam.
Oh, and you get the plasma beam in the phase-on mines. Okay.
Well, in Magmore Caverns after the phase-on mines, but if I use my speedrunning route, we do this entire area in one trip because we already have all 4 beams.
Yeah, it is. Stuff like that is frustrating where you only have to go back to a region for like just one specific thing. That one too also feels like it's less like obvious to remember. Like, because there's in some games it's like, oh, there's this big obvious fuck you obstacle that you definitely need a later item to get. That it seems like it was kind of like hidden in the quarter.
It's hidden out the way and it's just part of the room design, so it blends in perfectly, and the only hint you get is back at the artifact site, and even that's not really clear about where this one is.
No, it just tells you the room, so...
It's more like, okay, where am I supposed to go? You scan this thing, it's like, okay, I need to go to the research lab,
Okay,
I
it's
guess.
vaguely this way.
Yeah.
But normally when I'm running through this on a GameCube, we come in here, grab the thermal visor, and it's like, oh, you want me to go all the way back in the dark? No, I'm just going to take this back door. Ta-da.
Yeah. I know that backtracking is sometimes a contentious issue in games like this. It's certainly a hard thing to manage because like you want to encourage backtracking in some ways, you know. I think it would probably
missed it.
It might have been a little bit less egregious if like that wasn't an artifact and it was instead like, I don't know, a power bomb expansion or something.
There's not many in this game. I think there's only like 5 or so.
Power bomb
Yeah.
expansions?
Yeah, there's only like a handful compared to like Fusion, where it's like you stub your toe, you get a power bomb.
You don't even need that many. Like, when do you need more than 10 power bombs in any Metroid game? It's overkill to the...
This would be the game where I would want them, though, because the Fission Metroid's in the final boss, so...
Yep. And you get them in 2 when they're still about the same usefulness, and then they aren't there at all in 3.
Oh, you're right, yeah.
One of the things that confuses me is what the hell even is the Chozo artifact? It just looks like a hologram of an icon.
Well, it's supposed to be something... It's part of like a vault lock, and they call it the cipher.
Huh.
So the idea is you're basically building the key to the vault, and the individual tumblers for it.
Yeah, because
I
if
see.
you look at if you look at each individual artifact, only one of them's colored orange, and then when you look at the artifact screen in the menu, like the parts that you have are all lit up there. I agree, it doesn't really like look like a key or anything. It just kind of looks like glowy sci-fi nonsense. But it's neat. You know, it certainly looks cool. But
I'll tell you what's not neat. Trying to get this missile expansion without the gravity suit. Getting into it, easy. Getting out's the hard part.
and you can't save and exit cheese in Metroid. You need
nope.
to find a save room.
You have to do an extremely awkward, well-timed jump to get out of there.
I mean, I love save and exit cheese in video games. It's like one of my favorite things. It's like, oh,
If you're doing the randomizer for Metroid Prime 1 and 2, they do add that as a built-in option in case of a potential soft lock or you get stuck.
oh, they can do randomizers for GameCube games now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
Wind
is
Been a
Waker's
thing for years.
Wind Waker's been one for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know people who have been modding that for a while. I mean, for Prime 1 and 2, you can even combine them together.
So it's funny because I don't follow like ROM hacking scenes particularly much. I guess it's been like 20 years, so I shouldn't be too surprised. My internalization is just like, oh, GameCube games are too new to be like modded in that way. But like
25
no, not really.
years old next year.
Yeah, it's like Dolphin's been around for forever, so it's
Since 2003.
yeah. So I guess I shouldn't be surprised. You're right about that.
And that all started with Phantasy Star Online. Thank you, Sega.
Phantasy Star Online is like, it's one of those things where it's just like, if you think about something weird that happened in the Dreamcast GameCube era, it's just like, it always goes back to Phantasy Star Online somehow.
Well, the main reason for that is because both the Dreamcast and GameCube version have a really easy way to do arbitrary code execution, because every time to update the game, well, you can't press the disk, can you? That's too expensive. So, when you boot the game up, it connects to a server, downloads a binary. That binary is the update. So if we just put, like, a PC in the middle, we could just read the data that's coming to and from the console. Oh, hey, look, we have raw GameCube binaries. Oh, there's no security on this. We have full access to the system, including the disk drive. Hello? And then you had the, okay, well now we can start making mod chips and shit, because now we have a rough idea how the drive works. And it's basically just, you put a chip in the right place. All that chip does is activate debug points on the drive to trick it into thinking it's a dev drive, and all the systems get disabled, but you still might need the password. And this password is so stupid. It's literally Matsushita-DVD-game. In all caps. Oh, don't worry, they fixed it on the Wii. And by fixed it, I mean it's the same password all in lowercase.
That's some real password is password bullshit going on. Man. But it's just the idea that there are randomizers for stuff now is for GameCube stuff is, I should look into that. Because I only like a year or two ago, I discovered the Paper Mario N64 randomizer. So there's probably a 1,000-Year Door randomizer.
There
I would
is.
imagine.
There's even a roguelike version of it.
Roguelike? I don't know if I'd like a roguelike version. I'm like very picky with roguelikes. It's not like my favorite genre. I guess if it's like, it's 1,000-Year Door, like Pit of 100 Trials roguelike, I guess that would be fun.
It is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just the Pit of 100 Trials with randomized enemies and roguelike elements.
Yeah. So, my first real experience with a roguelike was the Mystery Dungeon games, which I'm not a fan of, because...
You hurt me.
I guess... No, I don't think you can really call Pikmin 2 a roguelike, but it does have procedurally generated dungeons. I'm not a fan of areas that are like very clearly not designed in any specific way. You know, if it's like, the exploration is part of the experience, then if it's made by a computer, it's always going to be like really wonky and not very fun. You're thinking of, it's like, what Elder Scrolls game does that, Lewis?
The first two both used procedural
Daggerfall?
generation. Daggerfall and Arena both. Daggerfall more so. The thing about Daggerfall's implementation of it, though, is that it was only ever procedurally generated in the dev office. Every dungeon in the game, all several hundred of them, are the same on every copy of the game. It's just they used procedural generation to make them.
So it's like everybody has the same seed on every time.
Yes, exactly.
That's how Minecraft does it. It's the same mechanism. Seed number affects the procedural generation, although if we're going to, like, before full release of Minecraft 1.0, after about 16 million, the game sort of breaks. As in, the actual procedural generation breaks down. You have what's called the Farlands, and it's literally a sky to bedrock wall of just absolute nonsense that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it kills the frame rate.
I will give Elder Scrolls 1 this, though. The main 16 dungeons of the story, such as it is, it's not much of a story. The main 16 dungeons of the campaign are handcrafted and noticeably better than the rest of them.
So I think my point is that, like, but it doesn't necessarily, being procedurally generated doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad if the focus is not necessarily on, like, the on that. Like, for example, Cult of the Lamb is a roguelike game I enjoy. And in that game, the areas are very simple. It's mostly like a couple rooms. There's a few branching paths where you can find secrets and stuff like that. But that game's more about the combat. So it's just like, okay, you'll just get a random enemy from a selection of a list in this particular area or whatnot. And that's more fine because it's just like, okay, like that's something where if it's procedurally generated, it doesn't like turn out being like the fucking mess that the Pokemon Mystery dungeons can and sometimes end up being. Maybe they got better in like the only one that Pokemon Mystery Dungeon fans like, the DS one, Explorers of Sky.
Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky.
Yeah, that's like the only Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game I feel like people actually like. Because
The first one's fine enough. There's not much to complain about, but you can definitely tell it was a first go with this IP type of thing.
But it's weird though, because they made Mystery Dungeon. They made dozens of Mystery Dungeon games before Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Like there's a Dragon Quest one. There's
Final Fantasy's had a few with the Chocobos.
No, it's not just one. There's like 3 of them, I think, before Mystery Dungeon Pokemon came out.
And strangely enough, they're canon to Final Fantasy XIV.
What?
Yeah, so I had to look this up myself. There's a Chocobo character there called Alpha, and it is near enough implied this one is from those Mystery Dungeon games. Like, the character design is the same, down to the chibi style.
What, there's just randomly a chibi-style chocobo in the world of Final Fantasy XIV?
Yeah, it's something to do with, like, Omega Weapon or whatever, like, trying to find the perfect thing or something. I don't know. I don't play 14.
I can hear John typing away with the comments now, explaining what that chocobo is about.
I just remember its name was Alpha, and it's heavily implied it's from the Mystery Dungeon trilogy.
Man, every time I look at stuff related to Final Fantasy XIV, I don't get it. Like, I've tried to look up some Final Fantasy XIV lore, and I'm just like, I have no idea what the hell any of these people are talking about. Probably because I didn't spend the time to actually like immerse myself in the world and learn what all this shit is.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
article.
if you actually play through the story, you have plenty of time to absorb and integrate all of the lore slowly over time, and that makes it a lot easier to deal with the volumes and volumes and volumes of information that exist about that setting at this point.
Yeah,
you know?
Versus trying to read a Wikipedia article and you're like, huh?
Now, quick fun fact, if you try and get that missed expansion early and you don't have the grapple beam, so let's say you visited for the first time to get the gravity suits, if you melt that ice and come back later, the grapple point doesn't activate.
Huh?
Because it's not set to be a true one until you move at least 2 rooms and then the scene set changes.
Can you melt the ice without the plasma beam?
No, you need it, but again, if it's an NCSC 1.0, you can get it early. That is a potential soft lock for 100% runs.
Well, you said you can jump on pretty much any wall in that version. Can you not, like...
You can, but it is, like, frame perfect.
Okay.
So it is very difficult.
Yeah. It is always very funny to me to just see... Like, I enjoy this era of video games because it's very clear, like, that they used a lot of really, like, weird solutions under the hood to make the illusion of the game. And I personally find... The thing I find interesting about, like, glitches and speedruns is when you get a look behind the curtain and you get to see, oh, they just did this. And it's like, oh, that's neat. Especially when it's like a particularly like novel or maybe somewhat janky looking solution, but you would never know unless if you did some specific glitch or whatever.
Don't worry, when we get to Meta Ridley, let me tell you, Meta Ridley's code in the early versions of the game, if you heard of the term spaghetti code, yeah, that's not enough. I call it spag bol code.
Spag bol code? Oh, jeez.
Because it is that bad. The boss is fine. I'm not complaining about that. It's just the actual underlying coding is a fucking mess. More so than what you normally expect from game devs.
Well, we were mentioning this earlier, but the development of Metroid Prime was fairly messy, considering that like the management for Retro Studios at that time was fairly messy. It is honestly somewhat of a miracle that A, this game got made, and B, that Retro Studios like nowadays ended up being like a extremely well respected studio among like Nintendo fans, especially. You don't tend to hear as many like interesting dev stories behind the Donkey Kong games they made versus
Still running on the Prime engine though.
That is still very weird.
Yep, they're all running on the same engine. This is literally just the engine incarnation that comes after Tropical Freeze and before 4.
I do also find it funny that like Metroid Fusion and Wario Land also share an engine. So it's
Yes, they
just
do.
Yeah, because Wario Land 4 came first, and it was a pretty advanced engine, even for the GBA.
no, the game's
So we
very
just
impressive.
reused it.
Like it's an early Game Boy Advance game, but like it still looks really great even when compared to later games.
Did you know that F-Zero 99 is running on the same engine as Mario Odyssey?
What?
Yeah, you know that that little RC car mini game that's in Odyssey.
Yeah.
That's
It's
the
running on the
base-
code that's the base for F-Zero 99.
If we want to go for something like that dead quick, does anyone remember the Mellow Mart song from Twilight Princess?
Yep.
Okay, they actually sampled that in Metroid Prime 3 as the charge noise for the plasma beam.
What?
Huh.
This is
It is heavily distorted, but it is from Twilight Princess.
that's like some Adam is actually a Tamagotchi voice. I love video games so much.
More nonsense and more in the next part of Metroid Prime. See you guys all then.